the standard, put on some adjacent annexures like the technical specification, the required performances, and so on, and work with it. It would be helpful to have such a standard recognized worldwide. I don't think so.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, with regard to the contract standardization, it's okay now? I heard, for instance, the reference to FIDIC, that everybody disliked FIDIC up to now. I don't know, the whole round was not completed. I also heard that the customization that is required for power plants requires to go away from these standards. The truth is that our company works both in the oil and gas and the power sector. And the oil and gas plants, I mean, the largest piece of equipment weighs 5% of the cost. In a power plant, you put the turbines, you have already half in it. So really, the standardization is much easier in power plants than in our opinion, than in oil and gas. In oil and gas, the FIDIC models in very, very large contracts are used as basis. And for sure, they are modified and they are accommodated, but many, many provisions work as a reference. We all know where we're standing. We have later to have an arbitration. I'm sure everybody has learned from where the clauses are coming from. So I really would like to hear more on this rejection in principle that I heard in the first round. And also as you probably know, EDF itself, that probably is one of the companies that has more internal procedures because of their nuclear dominant position, they are releasing requests for bids for nuclear power plants based on FIDIC. So I really would like to hear where the grounds for this, I don't know, 2 or 3 of you already said, no FIDIC and no way.
Thank you very much. I will not answer because I will let her answer him.
I will answer. It's very, I think it's simple. People on the customer side, they don't like FIDIC. When you are supplier side, of course, it's better. FIDIC is not magic, okay? But FIDIC has the advantage to be quite balanced, let's say. And this is very important. Look about the use of FIDIC in countries like Africa, in a lot of different continents. You are right. Usually for the nuclear project, and I saw a lot in various countries, in South Africa, in Korea, in China, and so on, there are customized contracts. And you are right. One is not the copy of another. This is clear. What you say about EDF is very interesting. EDF, during a long time, okay, there was very Franco-French company with general condition and specific condition, technical and so on and so on, okay? Okay, it was like what? It was in French and that's it. Then when they opened the competition to others, they understood that some clauses American company will never accept, a company will never accept. They move to try to have a kind of international, I would say, backbone of terms and conditions. And they move to that. They move to that. Then you are right. Personally, I don't believe to model. I believe to contract negotiated, signed, and implemented. The contract which has been implemented is the bid of tomorrow, with all the return of experience that you got on that. And you are right. The key point are the scope. The scope cannot be standardized. The scope is what we decided together, what you will buy in detail, maybe with bundles of appendices and what, but in detail because it's the key point. And the counterpart of the scope is the price. and the liabilities and the warranties. You know, there's backbones, and you must negotiate. We cannot do otherwise to be sure that we have an agreement or we don't have an agreement. As he said this morning, our Swedish friend, in fact, if we don't have the same price, it's difficult to understand we have an agreement really on that point. It's the reason for which FIDIC is a progress we can use, as we say, for the arbitration clause, some more legal standardized clause. Look on the common law side. In the UK, they invented a typically British thing, what they call NEC. Maybe you know the NEC booklet. You have 20 NEC booklet. When you read everything, there's a lot of contradiction inside. You have a headache, you know, anyway, make a derogation to that. And not, it's completely ununderstandable. In South Africa, they have the same. For, I would say, English sympathy on that. Then you have to make a deviation to that. It's a long word. It's a long time to spend, you know, to deviate page by page on that. But it's a way to be acquainted with a draft contract. And the key point, as I agree with what you say, the key point, everybody has to read the contract at the time of the negotiation for preparing the bid and so on.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions?
Comment from my side about this question of global FIDIC. I mean, I agree that FIDIC is a very good basis, and it is normally taken as a fundamental development area where we can build on it and make contracts. But I think given the different cultures and different types of clients what we have, I think it is really not practical to talk about a global standardization like this. Like you already mentioned NEC, and even countries which do not have this type of a standard contract form, they do have their own internal contract structures. And it's a question of pride for them. So they would like that to be followed. And from our experience, our contracts are more or less built on FIDIC model, but we are very flexible, and we have, even for some of our supply contracts, for machines, for big machines, we have managed to have our own template where we deal with detail, for example, what happens if a defective part is flying and damaging non-defective parts or other parts. What happens? We define. We say we are not responsible. We are not responsible for opening and closing of the machine because we only supplied you the machine. Things like this, we deal specifically, and it also depends on the market situation. We were able to sell this type of template contracts 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, when it was peak, when it was a seller market, and now it's changing. It's becoming a buyer market. It's very difficult to push through even with our own standard templates in countries like Russia, for example. They don't accept anymore. They want to renegotiate. And just a quick comment about what we discussed about these mistakes. I think it's very common in our experience to have mistakes. We have made huge mistakes in the past. But what is not pardonable is that you do not learn from these mistakes. We have a very structured form of project feedback these days we have developed. And at the end of the project manager has to give a structured feedback on what went right in his project, what went wrong in his project, and what were the reasons. Because mistakes can happen, it's important for the company to learn from these mistakes in a structured way over a period of time and eliminate the root cause. It could be the people, it could be the systems, it could be a supplier. We have to analyze this detail and learn. And as long as we do it, I think mistakes are okay.
Thank you very much. It was some kind of closing statement. Are there any? This is not the case. I brought some books here. You can take them if you are interested. And I would thank you very much for these 2 days. It was a great honor and pleasure to moderate your discussions and interventions and questions. I think we have learned a lot from each other, which is the most important. You are the peers of the industry. And thank you very much also to the organizers. It was a great pleasure, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.